Welcome, beautiful. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Before we dive into this incredible story, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button right now. Yes, right now. And drop a comment below telling me what you would do if you were in this situation. Would you stand up for the waitress? Would you call out the bullies? Or would you stay silent? I want to know your thoughts. Your engagement means everything and helps this channel grow so we can share more powerful stories like this one. Now, find a comfortable spot, maybe grab a warm drink, and let me transport you into a night that will change everything. This is a story about 5 wealthy men, 1 humble waitress, and a mistake that cost them everything. But more importantly, it's about the moment when karma came knocking. And trust me, when karma arrives, it doesn't knock politely. Are you ready? Let's be. The fluorescent lights of Rosie's diner hummed softly in the late December night, casting a warm glow over the red vinyl booths and checkered floor. Outside, the streets of Lower Manhattan buzzed with pre-New Year's Eve energy, but inside, there was a comfortable rhythm to the evening shift. Elena moved between tables with the kind of grace that only comes from years of practice. At 28 years old, she had the kind of beauty that didn't demand attention but earned it anyway. Her warm brown skin seemed to glow even under the harsh diner lights, and her dark curls, always pulled back into a neat, professional bun, framed a face that radiated genuine kindness. She wasn't tall, maybe 5'5", but she carried herself with quiet dignity. "More coffee, honey?" she asked a regular in booth 3, her voice soft and warm like melted caramel. "You're an angel, Elena," the elderly man replied, smiling up at her. She laughed, a gentle sound that made everyone around her feel at ease. "Just doing my job, Mr. Peterson. You want the apple pie tonight?" Fresh batch came out 20 minutes ago. This was Elena's world now. The late-night shift, the tired travelers, the insomniacs, the workers coming off double shifts of their own. She knew their names, their usual orders, their stories. Mrs. Chen always ordered chamomile tea and toast. Marcus, the taxi driver, took his eggs scrambled with hot sauce. Young Jamie, the college student, needed extra caffeine and encouragement during exam weeks. What none of them knew, what absolutely no one in that diner suspected, was that Elena Rodriguez was living a lie. Not a malicious one, but a necessary one. Her father was President James Rodriguez, the first Latino president of the United States, elected just 14 months ago in a historic landslide victory. Elena could have been living in the White House, attending state dinners, traveling the world with diplomatic immunity. Instead, she was here, wearing a polyester uniform that smelled like French fries and coffee, earning $8 an hour plus tips. She'd made this choice deliberately. "I need to understand them, Dad," she'd told her father the week after his inauguration. "The real America. The people you're serving. I can't do that from behind White House gates. I can't learn about their struggles while living in luxury." President Rodriguez had looked at his daughter with a mixture of pride and fear. "Elena, mi hija, the security risks. I know. But you taught me that leadership means service. Real service. Let me live that." They'd compromised. Elena could work, could live a normal life, but she would never truly be alone. The Secret Service would always be watching, always protecting, just from the shadows. She'd changed her appearance slightly, different hairstyle, minimal makeup, casual clothes. She used her mother's maiden name, Reyes, on all applications. To everyone at Rosie's diner, she was just Elena Reyes, a hard-working waitress trying to make ends meet. The most constant presence in her protection detail was a man everyone at the diner knew simply as Hawk. He sat in booth 7 almost every night, a fixture as permanent as the coffee maker. Thomas Hawk Hawkins was 45 years old and looked exactly like what he was, a warrior. Standing 6'3" with shoulders that seemed too broad for doorways, he had the kind of presence that made people instinctively step aside. His hair was cut military short, graying at the temples in a way that added gravitas rather than age. His hands, wrapped around his perpetual cup of black coffee, were scarred and calloused, hands that had held weapons, saved lives, taken lives when necessary. 20 years as a Navy SEAL, multiple tours in places that didn't officially exist, more medals than he could wear on one uniform. Then 5 years with the Secret Service, protecting diplomats, foreign dignitaries, and now, the president's daughter. To the other customers, Hawk looked like a blue-collar worker killing time. A truck driver, maybe, or a cons true tie-in foreman. His jeans were worn, his flannel shirt unremarkable, his boots scuffed. But his eyes, those sharp, constantly moving eyes, told a different story to anyone trained to see it. He watched everything. The door, the windows, the kitchen entrance, every person who walked in. He noted their hands, their gait, their body language. Threat assessment was as natural to him as breathing. Over 2 years of watching over Elena, Hawk had developed genuine respect for her. She wasn't playing at being normal, she truly cared about the people she served. She remembered birthdays, asked about sick relatives, slipped extra food to the homeless men who sometimes wandered in. She never complained, never acted entitled, never used her real identity as a shield. She reminded him why he'd joined the military in the first place, to protect people like her. Good people. People who made the world better just by being in it. The diner was busier than usual. New Year's Eve brought out the night crowd, some celebrating, some working through the holiday, some just looking for a warm place to exist. Elena had been on her feet for 7 hours straight, but her smile never faltered. She'd just refilled coffee at booth 4 when the door opened, bringing in a blast of cold air and 5 men who changed. They walked in like they owned the place. 5 men in their late 20s, all wearing suits that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Designer labels, polished shoes, watches that caught the diner's lights and threw back small rainbows of reflected wealth. The leader was immediately obvious. He walked at the front of the group, his posture radiating confidence that bordered on arrogance. Tyler Braxton was 29 years old, with thick, wavy reddish-brown hair styled in that effortlessly tousled way that actually took considerable effort. His face was classically handsome, strong jawline, high cheekbones, the kind of looks that had probably gotten him everything he wanted since high school. His eyes held a calculating coldness despite his easy smile, sweeping over the diner like he was sizing up something far beneath him. He wore designer jeans that probably cost more than most people's rent, paired with a gray designer t-shirt under a burgundy varsity-style jacket with white leather sleeves, an expensive homage to his Ivy League days, worn ironically now. On his wrist, an enormous luxury watch, looked like a Rolex Submariner with a blue face, caught the diner's lights as he gestured to his friends. That watch alone cost $50,000, minimum. Behind him, his 4 companions were variations on the same theme, wealthy, young, untouched by real struggle. Brandon Cole was 27, shorter than Tyler but trying to compensate with swagger. He had dark hair slicked back with too much product, a patchy beard he thought made him look distinguished, and the kind of smirk that "Do you want to punch it off" his face. His phone was already out, recording everything, always chasing the next viral moment. Kevin Ashford, 30, was the most conventionally attractive of the group, sandy brown hair, green eyes, strong jaw. He looked like he'd stepped out of a catalog for respectable hedge fund analysts. His suit was slightly more conservative, his watch expensive but understated. Everything about him screamed, "I'm the reasonable one," while his eyes revealed someone who'd perfected the art of being cruel within society's rules. James Mitchell, 28, was tall and lanky with red hair and freckles that might have made him look friendly if not for the constant expression of bored disdain on his face. He moved with the languid ease of someone who'd never had to rush for anything because everything always waited for him. Derek Liu, 26, was the youngest and somehow the cruelest looking. Asian American, impeccably dressed in all-black designer everything, with rectangular glasses that probably cost more than Elena's monthly salary. His face was sharp, almost fox-like, and his constant typing on his phone suggested someone whose entire worth was measured in followers and likes. They took the corner booth, the largest one, spreading out with the unconscious entitlement of people who'd never been told there wasn't room. First subscribe break, after approximately 1,000 words. Hold on, beautiful souls. Before we continue with what happens next, I need to pause for just a moment. If you're enjoying this story, if you're feeling that anticipation building, wondering what these men are about to do, then please, do me a favor right now. Hit that subscribe button. Yes, click it right now. And after you subscribe, ring that notification bell so you never miss a story. Your support literally keeps this channel alive and allows me to bring you more powerful, life-changing stories like this one. Trust me, what happens next is going to shock you. These 5 men are about to make a mistake they'll regret for the rest of their lives. And the way karma delivers justice? You won't believe it. Okay, subscribers and loyal viewers, let's continue. Here's where everything changes. Elena approached their table with her usual warmth, notepad in hand. She'd dealt with wealthy customers before. Some were kind, generous tippers who understood that service workers were human beings. Others were like these 5 seemed to be. "Good evening, gentlemen," she said, her voice professionally pleasant. "What can I get started for you?" Tyler looked up at her, his eyes traveling from her face down to her feet and back up in a way that made her skin crawl. It wasn't appreciative, it was assessing, like she was an object for sale. "Well, hello there," he said, his voice dripping wit. False charm. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Elena," she replied, keeping her smile fixed. "Can I get you something to drink while you look at the menu?" "Elena," Tyler repeated, drawing out her name like he was tasting it. "That's pretty." "Spanish?" "Can I get you gentlemen something to drink?" she repeated, redirecting. Brandon laughed, that particular laugh that suggested everything was a joke to him. "She's all business, Ty. I like it. We'll take 5 coffees. And keep them coming, we're celebrating." "Congratulations," Elena said genuinely. "What's the occasion?" "Oh, just the best year of our lives," Kevin said, leaning back with his hands behind his head. "We made more money this year than this entire diner will make in a decade. Maybe 2 decades. "That's wonderful," Elena said, though the way they'd said it, not to share joy but to establish superiority, made the words taste bitter. "I'll get that coffee right out." As she walked away, she heard their voices, not even trying to be quiet. "Check out that ass," Brandon said. "Bet she goes home to some loser boyfriend," James added. "Or maybe she's smart," Derek said with a mean laugh. "Maybe she's looking for a real man with real money." Elena's jaw tightened, but she kept walking. This wasn't new. She'd dealt with crude comments before. The trick was to not let them see it bothered you, do your job, collect your tips, and move on. In booth 7, Hawk's hand tightened around his coffee cup. He'd heard every word. 16 years of special operations, countless missions in the world's most dangerous places, and nothing had tested his patience like watching entitled children disrespect Elena. "Stay calm," he told himself. "She's handling it. Just watch." For the next hour, the situation deteriorated. The 5 men got progressively louder. Elena realized someone had a flask, probably multiple flasks, that they were passing under the table, pouring into their coffee cups. Their laughter took on that particular edge that came with alcohol and arrogance. Tyler kept calling her over for unnecessary things. "Elena, this fork has a spot on it." "Elena, can you bring more ketchup?" "No, that's not enough." "More." "Elena, the ice in my water melted." "Can I get fresh ice?" Each request was an excuse to keep her standing there while his friends made comments they thought were subtle but weren't. Man, I'd love to see what's under that uniform, Brandon said, phone camera pointed at her. Probably has 3 kids and an ex-husband, Kevin added with a cruel laugh. Wonder what she do for a $1,000 tip, James mused. Elena ignored all of it. She'd learned a long time ago that responding only made it worse. She brought them their food, expensive burgers they barely touched, fries they threw at each other like children. She refilled their coffees, cleared their plates, maintained her professional smile even as they treated her like hired entertainment other customers noticed. Some looked sympathetic, but nobody said anything. Nobody helped. That was the unspoken rule of service work: you endure, you smile, you collect your tip, you survive. Hawk's hands were clenched so tight his knuckles were white. Every instinct screamed at him to intervene, but Elena was handling it. She was strong. She didn't need his protection yet. But he was ready. God, was he ready? 11:45 p.m. 15 minutes before midnight. Tyler pulled out his phone and shouted over the noise of his friends, "Hey! Truth or dare? Like old times." Dare, obviously. I dare you to text your ex and tell her you still love her. Laughter erupted as Brandon complied, showing them the sent message. The game continued. Stupid, harmless dares at first. Order the weirdest thing on the menu. Do 10 push-ups right here. Harmless. Then Tyler's turn came around again. His ice-blue eyes fixed on Elena, who was refilling coffee at another table. Something cruel flickered in his expression, that look of someone who'd never faced real consequences and was about to push boundaries just to see if they existed. I dare you, Brandon said, his voice carrying across the diner, to pour coffee on the waitress. The table went silent for a beat. Dude, that's too far, Kevin said, but he was smiling. Come on, she's nobody, Brandon said, his phone already recording. It'll be hilarious. Imagine her face. Tyler's eyes glittered. Not with alcohol, with something worse. With the kind of cruelty that came from never being told no, never facing consequences, never having to see other people as fully human. How much? He asked. $5,000 to whoever does it, Brandon said. I'm recording. Make it viral. I'll do it, Tyler said, standing up. $10,000 says I do it and make it look like an accident. You're insane, James said, but nobody stopped him. Nobody stood up. Nobody said, this is wrong. They all just watched, phones out, ready to record. What they didn't see was Hawk standing up from booth 7, heading toward the restroom. Just for a moment. Just for 60 seconds. The worst 60 seconds. Elena approached their table with the coffee pot, refilling cups she'd refilled a dozen times already. Professional. Patient. Kind. More coffee, gentlemen? She asked. Tyler stood up, stumbling slightly. Here, let me help with that. Before she could react, before she could step back, he grabbed the coffee pot from her hands. And then, with his 4 friends recording and laughing, with a diner full of witnesses, the casual cruelty of someone who'd never been taught empathy, Tyler tilted the pot and poured hot coffee directly over Elena's head. The world stopped. Time seemed to freeze as the hot liquid, not quite scalding, but hot enough to hurt, hot enough to shock, cascaded over her. It ran down her face, her neck, soaked into her hair, her uniform. The smell of coffee filled her nostrils. The heat made her scalp sting. But worse than the physical sensation was the humiliation. Every eye in the diner turned to stare. The silence was deafening. Elena stood there, coffee dripping from her hair, from her eyelashes, from her trembling hands. She couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what had just happened. And they were laughing. Tyler's friends howled with laughter, phones up, capturing every angle. Brandon was practically screaming with glee. Oh my God, did you get that? Her face. Priceless. This is going to get 10 million views. Best dare ever, Ty. Elena's eyes burned, but not from the coffee. From tears. From the sheer, overwhelming humiliation of being treated like nothing. Like an object. Like entertainment. Like she didn't matter. She'd been kind to them. Professional. Patient. And this was her reward. The night manager, Roger, rushed over. He was a thin man in his 50s who usually let Elena handle difficult customers because she was better at it than he was. But this was beyond difficult. What's going on here? He demanded. It was an accident, Tyler said smoothly, still laughing. Total accident. Right, guys? Yeah, accident, his friends chorused, barely containing their laughter. Roger looked at Elena, dripping and trembling, then at the 5 wealthy men in their expensive suits. The calculation was visible on his face, which side could cause more problems for the diner. I'm so sorry, gentlemen, he said to the 5 men. Elena, go clean up. But I didn't, Elena started, her voice breaking. Now, Elena. She walked toward the bathroom, each step feeling like a mile. Coffee dripped onto the checkered floor. Other customers stared. Some looked sympathetic, but nobody helped. Nobody said anything. Nobody stood up. That's when Hawk emerged from the restroom. He took in the scene instantly, Elena walking past him with wet hair and tears streaming down her face. The 5 men at the corner booth replaying video on their phones, H5ing each other. The manager apologizing to them instead of defending his employee. Hawk's expression didn't change. He didn't shout, didn't react visibly. But inside, something went ice cold. That particular, focused coldness that had made him one of the most effective operators in SEAL Team 6. The kind of cold that preceded surgical precision. He walked calmly to booth 7, sat down, pulled out his encrypted phone, and made a single call. This is Eagle, he said quietly. We have a situation. 5 tangos harassed the package. I need complete workups on all of them by 0600 hours. Everything. Financial, social, legal, medical. Everything. Affirmative, Eagle. Is the package safe? Hawk watched Elena disappear into the bathroom. The package is secure. But these 5 are about to learn what consequences look like. He hung up and pulled out a small notebook. The 5 men were still celebrating, oblivious. Hawk began writing names, descriptions, details. Tyler Braxton, leader, blonde, Rolex Daytona. Brandon Cole, recorder, dark hair, phone addict. Kevin Ashford, sandy hair, green eyes, fake respectability. James Mitchell, red hair, freckles, bored expression. Derek Liu, youngest, all black, cruel eyes. By midnight, as fireworks exploded over Manhattan and the 5 men finally left the diner without even leaving a tip, Hawk was already planning his operation. Not a violent one. Violence was easy. This would be psychological. Surgical. Designed to teach 5 spoiled children what consequences actually meant. Because they hadn't just humiliated a waitress. They'd humiliated the president's daughter. And while Elena would never want revenge, would probably tell him to let it go, Hawk had made an oath. To protect her. Not just from physical harm, but from people who thought they could treat her like nothing. The game had begun. They just didn't know it yet. January 1, 2027. 6 a.m. Hawk sat in a secure facility 3 blocks from the diner, reviewing files on 5 computer screens. He'd gotten maybe 2 hours of sleep, but he'd operated on less. Much less. His team had been thorough. Tyler Braxton, 29. Current position, junior partner, Sterling Investment Group. Net worth, $40 million, trust fund plus investments. Background, Princeton, MBA from Wharton. Legal history, 3 DUI arrests, all charges dropped. 2 sexual harassment settlements paid quietly. Multiple complaints from service war. Curs at restaurants and clubs, all swept under the rug. Vulnerabilities, trust fund is held in a firm that manages several government pension funds. Accounts can be frozen for routine audit purposes. Psychology, narcissistic personality with entitlement complex. Has never faced real consequences. Father and grandfather bail him out of everything. Brandon Cole, 27. Current position, cryptocurrency trader, independent. Net worth, $15 million, most from crypto pump and dump schemes. Background, USC dropout, taught himself trading. Legal history, multiple complaints about harassment of service workers. Once paid $50,000 to settle a lawsuit from a hotel made he'd humiliated online. Vulnerabilities, his entire identity is built on social media presence. 2.3 million followers across platforms. Remove that, and he ceases to exist in his own mind. Psychology, desperate for attention and validation. Cruel online because it gets engagement. Secretly deeply insecure. Kevin Ashford, 30 ***. Current position, senior analyst, Whitmore Hedge Fund. Net worth, $25 million. Background, Yale, family money, connections to Senator Patricia Whitmore. Legal history, multiple insider trading investigations, none resulted in charges. 2 harassment settlements. Engaged to Senator Whitmore's daughter. Vulnerabilities, his entire life is built on reputation. Everything he has comes from appearing respectable. Expose the reality, and it all crumbles. Psychology, sociopathic tendencies masked by practiced charm. Extremely good at playing the system. James Mitchell, 28. Current position, entrepreneur, translation, lives off family money. Net worth, $30 million, all inherited or gifted. Background, multiple Ivy League schools, never graduated from any. Started 3 businesses, all failed, all bailed out by father. Legal history, clean, because daddy pays to make problems disappear. Vulnerabilities, father, Marcus Mitchell, is a self-made billionaire who built an empire from nothing. Secretly ashamed of his son's lack of real accomplishment. Psychology, lazy and entitled. Has never had to work for anything. Doesn't know how to function without daddy's money. Derek Liu, 26. Current position, tech investor, social media influencer. Net worth, $12 million. Background, Stanford dropout, minor success in early tech investments. Legal history, multiple complaints about harassment, especially of service workers. Makes videos mocking retail and food service employees. Vulnerabilities, his entire identity and business depends on online presence. Without social media, he has nothing. Psychology, cruel specifically to feel superior. Targets service workers because they can't fight back. Gets off on power differential. Hawk read through every file twice, making notes. Then he began making calls. First call, Treasury Department, Office of Financial Integrity. His contact there owed him 3 favors from their time together. In Afghanistan. Marcus, it's Hawk. I need a routine audit triggered on Sterling Investment Group. Specifically their junior partners' trust fund accounts. Nothing illegal, just thorough. The kind that freezes accounts for 30 to 60 days while you review. That'll destroy someone's quarter. I'm counting on it. Second call, FBI Cyber Division, Social Media Task Force. Another old friend. Sarah, remember when I pulled you out of that compound in Yemen? Yeah, that favor. I need 5 social media accounts flagged for terms of service violations. Severe enough for permanent bans. I'll send you documentation of harassment and bullying, all real, all documented. What did these people do? They poured hot coffee on a waitress and recorded it for entertainment. Send me everything. This'll be a pleasure. Third call, New York Times, Financial Investigations Desk. Jennifer, it's Thomas Hawkins. Remember the story I fed you about the Pentagon contract fraud? I have another one. This time it's about a hedge fund analyst who's been doing insider trading through his senator father-in-law's office. Real story, real evidence. Want it? Are you kidding? Send it over. Fourth call, private detective agency he'd worked with before. I need 24/7 surveillance on 5 targets. I want to know everywhere they go, everyone they talk to, every transaction they make. And I want their fathers called and given detailed breakdowns of every time they've bailed out their sons. Every dollar, every incident, every covered-up mistake. Fifth call, the manager of every high-end establishment the 5 men frequented. Hotels, restaurants, clubs. Hi, I'm calling from the National Service Workers Alliance. We're compiling a database of individuals who have harassed service staff. I have video evidence and witness statements regarding 5 men. I'm emailing you their photos and information. How you use this information is up to you, but we believe establishments have a right to know who they're serving. By 10 a.m., Hawk had set everything in motion. The operation had begun. Hashtag Act 5, the consequences. Tyler Braxton, Days 1-5. January 2nd, Tyler woke up in his penthouse apartment with a champagne hangover and a phone full of notifications. The video. The one Brandon had posted. It had gone viral. But not the way they'd expected. 10 million views. 50,000 comments. And every single one was brutal. Asterisk, this is disgusting. What kind of monster does this? Asterisk. Asterisk, I hope someone pours coffee on him and sees how he likes it. Asterisk. Asterisk, rich kids thinking they can treat people like garbage. Asterisk. Asterisk, someone find out where this guy works. Let's make sure he faces consequences. Asterisk. Asterisk, that poor woman. She was just trying to do her job. Asterisk. His phone rang. His boss. Tyler, get to the office. Now. By 9 a.m., he was being escorted out of Sterling Invest. Ment Group with his personal belongings in a box. We can't have this association, his boss had said coldly. You've made us look like we employ sociopaths. Our clients are already pulling accounts. You're fired. But I've made you millions. And you've cost us our reputation. We're done. Tyler tried to access his trust fund to soften the blow. His card declined. He called his wealth management firm. Mr. Braxton, your accounts are currently frozen pending a routine treasury audit. This is standard procedure. Should be resolved in 30 to 60 days. 30 to 60 days? I need that money now. I'm sorry, sir. There's nothing we can do. Within 48 hours, Tyler's world had collapsed. No job. No access to money. His penthouse rental, $8,000 per month, received an eviction notice for non-payment. His credit cards were declined everywhere. Tyler, who'd never worried about money a single day in his life, was suddenly broke. Not actually broke, his money existed somewhere, but completely unable to access it. He couldn't buy coffee. Couldn't order food delivery. Couldn't pay for a cab. And every time he went out in public, people recognized him from the video. At a restaurant, the hostess said, "We're full," while empty tables sat behind her. At a coffee shop, the barista accidentally spilled his order. On the street, people pointed and whispered. By day 5, Tyler was sleeping on a friend's couch, borrowing money for subway fare, experiencing the terror of not knowing where your next meal comes from. On January 5, he received a text from an unknown number. Feels different when you're the powerless one, doesn't it? You have 48 hours to make this right, or the freeze becomes permanent. Attached was the video of him pouring coffee on Elena. Tyler stared at his phone, hands shaking. Brandon Cole, days 3-7. January 6, Brandon woke up to a nightmare. Every screen in Times Square, every massive digital billboard, was showing his face. The video of him recording the coffee incident. But not just that one. Other videos too, ones Hawks' team had dug up from the depths of the internet. Brandon mocking a homeless man. Brandon screaming at a parking attendant. Brandon bragging about scamming investors. Each video played on loop with a banner, "This is Brandon Cole. This is who he really is." The displays ran for 6 hours. Cost a fortune. But the effect was immediate. Brandon couldn't go anywhere in Manhattan without being recognized. Strangers yelled at him on the subway. His apartment building asked him to leave, other tenants were complaining. His cryptocurrency platform lost 60% of its investors in 48 hours. But Hawk wasn't done. Brandon started receiving packages. The first contained a bill, Elena Martinez, therapy sessions, $5,000. Pay it. The second was a bound book containing screenshots of every cruel post Brandon had ever made online. Hundreds of pages. Years of cruelty, printed and bound. The third package was a mirror with the words etched into the glass, "Look at yourself. Is this who you want to be?" By January 8, Brandon was having panic attacks. He couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Everywhere he looked, he saw his own face, his own cruelty reflected back at him. Kevin Ashford, days 5-8. January 7, the Financial Times ran a front-page story. The real Kevin Ashford, behind the respectable facade. The article detailed everything. The harassment settlements paid quietly. The article detailed everything. The harassment settlements paid quietly. The insider trading that skirted legality. The way he used his senator father-in-law's connections for personal gain. Every shady deal, every covered-up mistake, every lie that built his respectable image. His fiancée's family read it over breakfast. So did his employers. So did his clients. By January 8, his engagement was off. His fiancée released a statement, "I cannot associate with someone whose values are so contrary to everything my family stands for." His firm put him on indefinite suspension pending investigation. His clients pulled their money. Kevin, who'd built everything on reputation, watched it crumble in 72 hours. James Mitchell, days 6-9. James's father, Marcus Mitchell, received a package on January 8. Inside was documentation of every bailout, every covered-up mistake, every dollar spent protecting his son from consequences. $3 million total. With it came a letter. Your son humiliated a young woman for entertainment. Here's what protecting him has cost you. It ends now. Marcus Mitchell was a self-made billionaire who'd clawed his way up from poverty. He'd built an empire with his bare hands. And his son had never built anything, never earned anything, never faced a single consequence. He called James to his office. "You're on your own now," Marcus said, his voice ice cold. "No more bailouts. No more connections. No more protection. From this moment forward, you succeed or fail on your own merit. James, who'd never had to face consequences, suddenly had creditors calling, landlords demanding payment, business partners realizing he had no real skills. By January 9, he was applying for jobs, real jobs, and being rejected one after another because word had spread about who he was. Derek Liu, Days 7-10. Derek woke up on January 9 to find every single one of his social media accounts permanently banned. Instagram. Gone. Twitter. Gone. TikTok. Gone. YouTube. Gone. Every platform. Every account. Permanently deleted. He tried to create new accounts. They were identified and banned within hours. He tried to have friends post for him. They refused, not wanting the association. Derek, who'd built his entire identity online, who measured his worth in followers and likes, was suddenly invisible. His tech investments fell apart because he couldn't network, couldn't maintain connections, couldn't exist in the digital space he'd dominated. By January 10, Derek was experiencing the isolation he'd inflicted on others. The feeling of being nobody. Of not mattering. January 10, Tyler and Brandon met at a coffee shop in Queens, far from their usual Manhattan haunts. They both looked haggard. Tyler hadn't shaved in days. Brandon's eyes were bloodshot from lack of sleep. "This is insane," Brandon said, his hands shaking around his coffee cup. "Someone's destroying us." "The waitress," Tyler said quietly. "It has to be connected to her. She's just a waitress. What could she possibly?" "It's not her." The voice came from behind them. Eagle slid into the booth, his presence suddenly overwhelming. Both men froze. "It's me." Tyler's voice cracked. "Who are you?" "Someone who watched you humiliate a good person for fun," Eagle said calmly. "Someone who decided you needed to learn what consequences feel like." "You can't do this," Brandon protested. "You're committing crimes." "Am I?" Eagle's voice was mild. "Your trust fund investigation is legitimate Treasury procedure. Your boss fired you legally." Brandon's investors left on their own after seeing who they were dealing with. Kevin's article was factual journalism. James's father made his own choice. Derek violated platform policies repeatedly. He leaned forward. "I didn't break any laws. I just stopped protecting you from the natural consequences of your actions. For the first time in your lives, you're experiencing what most people deal with every day, accountability." "You were in the diner," Tyler said, recognition dawning. "The guy in booth 7. "I'm nobody special," Eagle said. "Just someone who thinks people should be treated with basic respect. Especially the people who serve you, who work hard to make your comfortable lives possible." He slid 2 envelopes across the table. "You want this to stop? Here's how. Tomorrow at noon, you and your 3 friends go back to that diner. You apologize to Elena, publicly, sincerely, on camera. You donate $100,000 each to the National Service Workers Fund. And you spend the next 6 months volunteering at that same D.N., doing the work you thought was beneath you. Washing dishes, cleaning tables, learning what real work feels like. Or?" Tyler asked, his voice barely a whisper. Eagle's expression didn't change. "Or I make this permanent. The freezes, the bans, the destroyed reputations. Everything I've done in 10 days becomes your life forever. Your choice." He stood up and walked out, leaving 2 terrified men staring at the envelopes. Inside was information about Elena. Not her real identity, just her story. A woman working hard to support herself. A woman who'd never complained, never asked for special treatment. A woman who treated everyone with kindness despite having every reason not to. A woman they'd humiliated for 5 minutes of entertainment. All 5 men walked into Rosie's diner together. They looked different. Humbled. Smaller somehow. Tyler still wore jeans and a simple t-shirt, but the cocky varsity jacket was gone, replaced by a humble hoodie. No expensive watch gleaming on his wrist. Their swagger had evaporated completely. Elena was working the lunch shift. She froze when she saw them, her hand tightening on the coffee pot. Eagle, in booth 7, gave her a slight nod. Asterisk, it's okay. Watch, asterisk. Tyler approached first. Elena, may we speak with you? She looked wary. If this is more trouble. It's not. We came to apologize. Really apologize. The other 4 stood behind him, all looking at the floor. What happened that night, Tyler continued, his voice breaking, what we did to you, was unforgivable. We were drunk, we were stupid, we were cruel. We treated you like you didn't matter, like you were entertainment instead of a person. There's no excuse for that. None. Brandon stepped forward. I recorded it. I laughed. I encouraged it. I'm sorry. That doesn't even begin to cover it, but I'm sorry. One by one, they apologized. Kevin, James, Derek. Each acknowledging what they'd done, the cruelty of it, the privilege that made them think it was acceptable. Elena listened, arms crossed. Okay. You apologized. Is that it? No, Tyler said. We're donating $500,000 total to the National Service Workers Fund. And we're going to volunteer here for 6 months, doing whatever needs doing. To learn what you already know, that service work matters, that the people doing it deserve respect. Elena's eyes went wide. You're serious? We are, James said quietly. We've spent the last 10 days learning what it feels like to be powerless, to be humiliated, to have everything stripped away. You live with that risk every day, one bad customer, one bad tip, one cruel moment. And you handle it with grace. We couldn't handle 10 days. Elena looked at Eagle. He nodded slightly. She turned back to E5 men. Then you can start by cleaning table 7. There's syrup all over it. The 5 millionaires, men who'd never cleaned anything in their lives, went to work. The next 6 months changed everything. Tyler washed dishes for 8 hours a day. Brandon bussed tables. Kevin mopped floors. James took out trash. Derek cleaned bathrooms. They learned the ache of standing for hours. The exhaustion of dealing with difficult customers. The quiet dignity of honest work. They learned the names of regular customers. How Mrs. Chen liked her tea. How Marcus needed extra hot sauce. How Jamie was stressed about exams. They learned that respect wasn't about money or status, but about seeing people as people. Slowly, painfully, they transformed. Tyler started a sensitivity training program for young finance professionals. Brandon rebuilt his platform with ethics at its core. Kevin wrote articles about privilege and accountability. James started a business based on his own work, not his father's name. Derek found purpose offline, volunteering with at-risk youth. By summer, when their 6 months ended, they asked to keep volunteering. One evening in late July, Tyler approached Elena as her shift ended. I know we can never take back what we did, he said quietly. But I wanted you to know, you changed my life. By having coffee poured on me? Elena's voice was sharp. By showing me what real strength looks like, Tyler said. You handled that night with more grace than I've handled anything in my privileged life. You kept working, kept being kind, despite what we did. That's strength. I'm spending the rest of my life trying to be even a fraction of that good. Elena studied him for a long moment. Then start by treating the next server you meet with respect. That's how you honor what happened. Not by thanking me, but by doing better. I will. I promise. After they left, Eagle approached. "You okay?" Elena nodded. "I am, actually. You know what they learned, really learned? Maybe that's worth more than any punishment." Eagle smiled. "Maybe it is." What Elena never learned was her real identity, why her protection was so extensive, or the full extent of what Eagle had done. She believed the men had faced natural consequences. That the universe had balanced itself. That was better. Let her keep believing the world could be just on its own. President Rodriguez, watching coverage from the White House, called Eagle personally. "My daughter? She's fine, sir. Handling it with her usual grace. And the men responsible? Learning lessons they should have learned long ago, sir. The hard way." The president was quiet. "Thank you, Thomas. For protecting her in every sense of the word." "Just doing my job, sir." "No, Eagle. You went beyond your job. You taught accountability when the system might have failed to. That matters." The story spread not through viral videos, but through word of mouth. People talked about the 5 millionaires who'd learned humility at a diner. About the waitress who'd shown them grace. About how sometimes consequences come from unexpected places. Elena continued working at Rosie's diner through that year and the next, eventually returning to public life when her father's term ended. But she never forgot those nights serving coffee and clearing tables. The 5 men kept in touch, bonded by shared humiliation and transformation. They started a foundation supporting service workers, offering scholarships, legal aid, and resources. They never forgot the lesson learned the hardest way possible: respect isn't about who has power. It's about recognizing everyone's humanity, ***. Eagle continued his duty, protecting the president's daughter and eventually other protectees, carrying the quiet satisfaction of a mission accomplished. Not the missions that made headlines, but the kind that changed lives. One consequence at a time. Sometimes justice doesn't come from courts or laws. Sometimes it comes from a Navy SEAL who loves his country enough to teach its privileged children what respect really means. Remember this ***. Respect is not negotiable. Every person you encounter, regardless of their job or status, deserves basic human dignity. The waitress serving your coffee, the janitor cleaning your office, the cashier ringing up your groceries. They all have stories, struggles, and worth that extends far beyond their uniforms. Privilege and wealth don't make you superior. They make you responsible for using those advantages with grace and kindness. Humiliation might seem like a momentary joke, but its effects last far longer than laughter. And remember, you never know who someone really is. The person you dismiss as nobody might be somebody's daughter, somebody's protected treasure. Or simply somebody who deserves better than your cruelty. Treat everyone as if they matter, because they do. Consequences may not come immediately, but they always come. And when they do, they'll teach you lessons you'll never forget. The hard way or the humble way. Choose humility first, before life chooses it for you. Thank you, beautiful souls, for joining me on this journey. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think, if it reminded you of the power of kindness and the importance of respect, then please do 3 things for me. First, hit that subscribe button right now. We're building a community of people who believe in these values, and I want you to be part of it. Second, give this video a like. It helps the algorithm share this message with more people who need to hear it. Third, share this video. Send it to someone who needs this reminder. Post it on your social media. Let's spread this message of respect and accountability together. And drop a comment below. Tell me, where are you watching from? What lesson hit you the hardest? Have you ever witnessed someone being treated like Elena was? What did you do? Remember, beautiful souls, the world changes one act of kindness at a time. One moment of standing up for what's right. One choice to treat everyone with dignity. Be the change. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, stay kind, stay humble, and stay blessed.